Hey, kia ora, Helen Brahms here, coming to you live from Sun City in Arizona. I hope you're all having a super fantastic, sparkling start to Tune Up Tuesday. Yes, it's that day of the week. We look at making some tweaks and changes. We also talk about what music you listen to during the day to help you focus, to stay on task, to fill the silence, just all the good stuff like that, or just to take a break and get up and dance. Just as simple as that. But our tune-up today is that we are halfway through the month. What tune-ups are you making to your business to meet your, to meet your month-end goals? So are there any, looking at where you want to be at the end of the month, where you are now, what tweaks and changes, what tune-ups do you have to make in order to meet your end of the month goals? If you've already exceeded your end of the month goals, awesome, that is fantastic. So why not double it? Think about that. If you're halfway through the month, you've already met your monthly goals. Since you've already done it in the first half of the month, why not double it to the second half of the month? There you go. Okay, that's my little thing for the day. My little suggestion for the day for business. But truly, if you have already set your goals and you've already achieved them, why not look, especially if they're like a dollar figure, why not go for doubling it by the end of the month? You're halfway through the month and you've already exceeded them, so surely you can double it by the end of the month. You did it in the first half, so why not set the same goal again and go for it in the last 2 weeks of the month? See, think about things like this. Help you grow, help your business grow. So we had, I'm sorry about the bags under the eyes this morning. We had, we were quietly sitting here last night, and all of a sudden there's bop, 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 coming from front, that emergency high-pitched noise that just, and so we had to look at the thing. They had severe thunderstorm warnings out for winds of with wind gusts up to 80 miles an hour, and I'm like, oh, we could rock a little bit with that. And they're talking about trees coming down and damage being done to vehicles and staying safe inside buildings and hail the size of a quarter coming out. And I was like, okay, so we've got a major storm coming through. We're going to be fine. A lot of praying went on that one, that we would be protected, and we were. We got a little bit of rocking in here. And then when I checked the weather forecast later on, and of course this came through like around 11:30 last night. And they had the warnings out until 11:45. I thought, well, I'm only going to last 15 minutes. But, I knew that throughout the night there was other thunderstorms coming because I had pulled up my weather app and it was showing the rain for the next 4 hours. And it was kind of high up in that severe rain area. And the awning was already in. I would pull the awning in when we come back from our evening walk, just so that it's not out there overnight and I forget to put it in. But it's always good to put your awning in at night because if the winds do pick up and stuff, it could do some damage to your awning. And with this hail and everything coming out, I ran into the bedroom. I opened up the little window on my slide that looks down the side of the passenger side of the vehicle and had a look just to make sure that my awning was in, and it was. These things, And but we got to bed. I think it was like around 12:30 before we finally got to bed and everything else, because I wanted to make sure that everything was safe. If the winds would get that high and all that, we could be in for some major rocking, which meant things could fall over and all that. And so I actually boxed up I put out the box for the computer. I put the computer in the box for the night, secured the box. So I thought, it's going to rock and roll. I don't want my computer getting damaged. And just secured things down a little bit and made sure everything was away and in its place so that we didn't get anything flying. And we hardly moved at all. We had a couple of bits where we just did a little bit of rocking. There was some thunder and lightning coming through. Ziffy was up on her bed doing storm patrol, which is looking out the side window, watching all the flashing going on and listening to the thunder. And I went to bed, went to sleep, and got rudely awoken at 4:27 this morning with my phone going, bah, 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 again. I was like, what the hell? It was another emergency thing coming through, and this time it was about flash flood warnings, about not being out and driving. Don't go out and drive unless you have to because of flash floods in the area and blah, 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 blah. And I was like, really? And the second that thing off, Zeffie ran down and got up on the dashboard there, and she's like out the window, like, what's going on? What's going on? She's like looking around. And I was like, great. Excellent. So what did I do? I climbed back into bed. and just kind of snoozed. I figured, I had a late night last night. I got rudely awakened this morning, and I was out of a dead sleep. I was in the same position I went to sleep in last night. And so I turned over and I thought, it's rather cold in here. And it was in the 60s inside the RV. It's like 70 something outside, and it was like 72 degrees outside, and it was like 68 inside. It was awesome. It was amazing. And I thought, maybe I should get the blanket out. And I thought, no, that'll put me to sleep too much. And I know I've got to get up soon anyway. So I just sort of like laid there and thought, will I let the alarm tell me time to get up, or will I figure it out for myself? So I let the alarm tell me it was time to get up. I'd had a late night. But anyway, so it's been, and we walked outside this morning, went for our walk and everything else. You could not tell there'd been a storm through here last night. Yes, there are a few more of those bits off the palm tree that are like the base of the leaves, where they cut the leaves off and they leave those base pieces behind. Yeah, there are not many of those scattered around. But I said to one of the guys out walking his dog, I said, doesn't look like a storm came through here last night, doesn't it? He's like, nope. Well, at least in our area of the resort. We haven't gone to the other area of the resort, but in a couple of patches, the ground was wet on the road. You could tell there'd been some rain, but that was it. Everything was dry. Nothing had been blown over that we could see. There was no major damage to anything, and I was like, awesome. And that was part of my grateful morning, is the fact that we woke up and there was no sign of storm coming through this area. So very grateful for that this morning. So now I've got to get moving because I've got to be online for my other one yesterday. Tell your story question of the day. We know that it is important that you've got to tell your story. Now, there are some service clubs out there like Boy Scouts, Girl Guides, Boys Brigade, what's one I belong to, St. John's Ambulance, different clubs outside of the schools that you get to go to, and you get to do lots of different cool stuff. And you can earn badges for different things like cooking and knitting and fishing and outdoor activities, and you get to go on camps and all that sort of fun stuff. So did you belong to any of those service clubs like Boy Scouts, Girl Guides, Boys Brigade, St. John's, whatever, maybe it should have been organizations instead of clubs. Your organizations like that when you were growing up. And what did you enjoy most about them? Your time with them. I was in Brownies, and because we did Brownies first and then went into Girl Guides. So I did that. And then when we moved to Waitrose, when I was a teenager, I left Girl Guides and joined St. John's Ambulance. And St. John's Ambulance is like your paramedics in New Zealand. And is that like the paramedic version, but in New Zealand. And they have a youth program, and the youth program teaches you basic first aid, teaches you how to care for a patient when they're in the bed, how to change a bed when a patient is in there, how to make a bed correctly, and when you come across an accident, how you assess it to determine who you give your time to first, and also different things that you can use around you if you don't have a first aid kit with you. So it was a lot of fun, a lot of training, and we even got to do things like on an evening we would we had to deal with learn what it was like to have disabilities. Now, we didn't have a lot of time, so it just gave us just about this much insight into how somebody deals with a disability. So somebody had splints put on their leg because they had an injury from a war or something, and they had, this when I was a teenager, and they had a stiff leg that you had to figure out how to treat that. If you were helping them, somebody was blindfolded for the evening. Somebody that had earplugs in there. We had somebody walking around with a cane. So we all role played different disabilities and stuff, and the other people had to learn how to communicate with people who had disabilities and how to treat them, how to treat somebody with a disability. So it was kind of awesome. I remember one time I had to try and imitate somebody having a fit. And I was sort of like, and they described it to me, so I did the best I could. And then the instructor told me when I had to go unconscious. But it was difficult because I'd never seen anybody had a fit before, so I didn't know what it was like for them or what it looked like. So it was sort of like, if you see somebody running around on the floor having an epileptic fit, what do you do with them? Things like that. So, and we earned badges along the way, and we went into competitions and all that sort of stuff. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. But all of that training, but here's the thing, all that training that I did at St. John's Ambulance for the 3 or 4 years I was with them, I used years later when Brad was in hospital after his first surgery, and I would give him a bed bath. I would change his sheets, change his gown. I did everything for him in that hospital room except administer his medication and change the IV. I was even changing the dressings. I was emptying the fluid bulb things. I was doing everything for him except give him medication and change the IVs. And these nurses were like, "Are you a nurse?" And I'm like, "Nope." "You had any medical training?" I said, "Well, when I was a teenager." And they looked at me and went, "What?" So I'd have to explain about St. John's. But, I loved my time with Brownies and Girl Guides and St. John's. It was awesome. And it was really gave you a sense of community as well, because you got to participate in a lot of community stuff. So you got to get known in the community as well. But you also got to do good for the community too. We had days where we would go out as my Girl Guide. Yeah, camping. Oh, camping was my favorite. We'd go camping. And with Girl Guides, you'd have your Girl Guide box. And there were certain things you had to have in your Girl Guide box. Now, my Girl Guide box stood out from everybody else's because my dad made me one out of an old Apple box. And it had the fold-out leg. It's got the fold-out legs underneath. And I can't remember the dimensions of the thing. And he had a lid on it that had a pad that you put a padlock on. But we had friends staying with us who were missionaries. And Kay was an amazing artist. She did this huge mural on a big concrete wall that we had at the house that we were living at the time. It was amazing. She took this picture out of a book, this painting out of a book, and painted it on the wall. But what she did with the box is that they painted the box like a light, very, very light green color. And then she painted Disney characters on every side, on top of the lid and on the underside of the lid. So I had Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck and Pluto and Goofy, and I'm trying to remember who else is on there, but it was one character per side. That box stood out like nobody's business at any Girl Guide event we went to, because a lot of people had boxes that looked very similar. Mine stood out miles among them and was a very favorite one. In fact, my parents still have that box today. It is sitting in their storage cupboard with, let's see, last time I checked was all their wedding photographs were in there. And along with Mum's tiara that she wore at her wedding. So all of that sort of stuff is in that box. I don't know if it's still like that today or not, but I know they still have the box. I hope that's where all the wedding pictures are, because I want to grab those. But anyway, so that's the sort of fun that we had. So what fun did you have working for some of these service organizations like Boy Scouts, Girl Guides, Boys Brigade? You had stuff that you would volunteer and do in the community. So what did you get to do? I think we had Girls Brigade in New Zealand as well. We had Scouts, and then we had Boys Brigade, Girls Brigade, Girl Guides, Brownies. What else did we have? St. John's. I think that was it. Can't remember. It was a long time ago. But I still remember some of the fun that we had. But we used to have a lot of fun. You learned a lot of camping skills when you go out and you have these big tents and you have like 4 girls to a tent. It was a lot of fun. But anyway, so what sort of service organizations did you belong to like that when you were growing up? And what did you enjoy most about them? That's it from me for today. Go out and have a super fantastic sparkling tune-up Tuesday. And we will catch you guys at 6 p.m. this evening to do part 2 of today. So have a super fantastic sparkling day. Hei konara.